Okay, here I'm gonna share my screen. So I'm gonna share my screen, what I have on my screen. You'll be able to see as well. And now we're just gonna go through. And what I wanted to go through is actually my equipment, how I use it. I understand everybody may have a different equipment, but this is what I'm doing. Let me have a look. I'm not very how to get it for full screen. I'm not sure. I think it should be somewhere. I don't know how to start it on a full screen. You see, I'm not doing it every day. Okay, but that's fine. I see it here on the side. So basically, this is where I work. I work in SpacePhoto, and this is what we do. We do property photography full time. And here I have prepared the equipment. So this is my equipment. This is what I have in my bag. All of this equipment I can fit in my bag, and I don't need to carry on any other bags or backpacks or tripod in separate unit. Everything fits in just one bag. I put it on my shoulders and I'm off. So what is that? Tripod, full frame camera, two external memory cards, two camera batteries, eight rechargeable batteries for flash itself, and I use the 14 mil lens for my own work that I do, mainly for estate agents, which is the wide angle. When I need to do like lifestyle images, then I add an additional lens, which is basically 22 from 24 millimeters, yeah, and then I just zoom in on the detail. But most of the work that we're going to be done in my case with 14 mil, and that is for my clients. That works the best. So let's start with first thing, which is tripod. Okay, so this is the tripod that I use, and it can be different brand. It doesn't really matter. So use tripod in all properties, and I always have it with me. I always have it. But what it is, if I don't have tripod, it's difficult to make the bracketing. So I'm gonna mute a little bit the sound. So then I'm gonna unmute again, so we can then discuss if you have any questions. Okay, so this is my tripod, and this I use because why I need this tripod, this particular tripod, because I look at these two segments here. Now, all of it is also in my bag, and I have my bag just next to me. So everything is one bag. I don't have to carry on multiple bags. And I just take out from here my tripod. So what happens with the tripod, when you have two sections at the top, if you can see me also, not only the slides, I'm not sure, but there is one segment and two segments, and I can adjust the height simply by adjusting this. Because if I'm in a property, I need to adjust the heights quite frequently, and I don't want to unscrew three legs and screw back those three legs. And you may think, yeah, that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, but when you're doing hundreds of properties, then eventually you start to think how to become more efficient. Tripod is not expensive. On Amazon is maybe 50 to 60 pounds, yeah? But this is very, very important, and now I'm going to go into details here. So now, always I have these few legs extended here that you can see. The first is just the base, and then two segments is extended. If I need to do externals, I can extend more of them, but internally I'm going to do this. Now here at the lowest point, if the furniture is low, I will always try to keep as low as possible to see as much possible of the floor space. That means that my images will always look wider than anybody's else who is keeping them higher, because they will just show more of the ceiling. Ceiling is unusable space and nobody walks on the ceiling. So we try to keep as low as possible, but keeping in mind, we don't want to see furniture from underneath, yeah, which is common sense. So we want to keep it slightly over the surfaces, whether that's kitchen worktops, whether that's beds or anything else. Now I would use this first image, the setup for general photography, like in receptions, bedrooms, and so on. Now, if I have some sofas or maybe higher beds, I would just adjust the top section, and it's simply as unscrewing, pull it up, screw it back, very, very easy. Just one movement with one hand, I can do all of it, yeah? and of course just have to keep the tripod. Now these two sessions, these two images, this is how I do most of my property photography. Exceptions is one place, which is kitchens, because kitchen worktops usually as at this level, so can people easily work on them. Now there you have to increase the tripod height, and again I don't adjust the legs, I just basically adjust the top segment. And again you see the only thing I do is I only adjust the top segment, and it's very easy, up and down, that's it. Because when I go in a property, it is go in, do the job, and get out of there, and that's it. Yeah, because eventually if you are paid for a whole day, you take your time and you do whatever you want just to get those images as best as possible. But if you're paid per job, and usually for estate agents, they just want to keep everything very cost efficient, and that's understandable. They have their cost to pay as well. Now you need to think about how can I be more efficient instead of carrying three bags, having multiple tripods and things and everything, adjusting everything differently is difficult and it takes time. So I have to keep things simple. And in my experience working 5 years in this industry, I have realized this is the best thing to do, is just to have everything in one bag. I carry my bag, carry my tripod, go there, set it up, take it down, and go to the next job. So that is my tripod that I use. And if you can look up for any tripods in similar setup with two top segments in Amazon, then that's the one to use. And not necessarily you need to go for high, very expensive, as long as it keeps the camera steady. And so I, like I said, maybe £50, £60 is the price. Now, camera that I use 6D myself. I have also Nikon D810. I do personally use 6D because I also do other things like events photography, like because I go to property events and I do some shots there, and I'm kind of used to it, and I have other lenses for Canon. But in general, I do say from my own experience that camera is better. But I'm not talking about whether you need to use specifically Canon or Nikon or any other, or Sony. All cameras are good if you know how to use them. Keep on doing it. It is just what I use and what is in my bag. This is what we are discussing. So here the common question is, okay, full frame or crop sensor? Of course. Why I use 6D? Because it is actually the cheapest 6D camera, as a full frame camera that is from Canon, and that I can use and achieve the maximum result. So we don't want to go over the board, because if I were going to have a Mark IV, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be paid more for the job that I do. I will be spending more money on the camera. So what is the difference? Do we see that here the crop sensor is smaller, and actually the full sensor is larger, and that reflects in images that we take. So what happens when we take those images? The larger the sensor, the more space we can capture. The same like if you have an opening, if you have smaller door opening or smaller hole, we can see less. The larger the opening, the more we can see. And I know that many people will say, look, the tool is not what makes the difference. The tool is not what makes the images. The photographer is. And I do agree with this, but I will say, if it comes down to two professionals, and do not think that there are no professionals in this industry, there are many. If it comes down to whether you or somebody else are going to do the best images, then always that person with a better equipment will have that advantage. If you don't have finances to invest in it, it's fine. You can use also the crop sensor and work your way up and get the full frame camera. But to be honest, used cameras, full frame cameras, even can get for like £200-300, and I think if you do a few jobs, you'll be able to just earn back the money. So it is not an expense; it is actually an investment. I definitely recommend it. I use it myself; otherwise, I wouldn't use it. So now, what is the difference? Now the difference is there is this ratio, and ratio is, if that would be 14mm lens on my lens that I used, on a full frame, then that would be the whole spectrum. We can see full frame sensor. Now, if we then would have this on a different sensor size, and which are cropped sensors, they are smaller. And if I pull up the calculator, and if you see the calculator, basically what I need to do, I need to take these 14 millimeters, and I just need to times the crop factor. So for example, here crop sensor would be 1.6. So times 1.6. So if I have that is equal to 22. So if I have the same 14 millimeter lens, so the same 14 millimeter lens, which is specially made for crop sensors, then that would be equal to 22 on a full frame, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, because eventually you will find that there is 14 millimeter on crop sensor and there is 14 millimeter on full frame. Both of them seems to be 14 millimeters, just one 14 millimeter costs thousands, the other one costs maybe a few hundred. Now that is the difference. Also, where it is meant to be used, whether on full frame or on crop sensor. Yeah. So, having the right lens and having the right equipment will just provide so much more. And if somebody will deliver this image that we have here in the middle, and then somebody else will going to provide this larger image here, the client will be happier, if especially there are estate agents who want to sell the property and the space. And in this case, you don't really need to be super advanced or super skilled. This is basically just go there and do the shot, and you're gonna be winner over somebody who actually uses crop sensor in this case. Yeah, but of course, I have been in situations where I see, a lot of things have been done with crop sensor, and let's say. If a photographer don't know how to do it and what to do it, it doesn't matter what equipment they have. So it is eventually down to the photographer's skills, but the equipment is very important. Now, what also I have in my bag? Also, I have in my bag two memory cards. So why do I have two memory cards? Because always I have a backup. And people say, do you do bracketing and do you take all the images out and all these things? I have learned from my mistakes. So I go to property, I do shoot the property, and then I come back home. I now start up with all the images, and I just, let me delete these ones which I don't need. And accidentally I deleted what I need because I sort them out by folders in my camera. And what happened then? The situation that I had to ask for the keys and go and do the revisit. So I learned my mistake from that. I don't do that anymore. I now use, for example, one of the memory cards, and the other one is in bag. Now I just create a new folder for each property. When I do the images for the property, what happens is I then fill up the card, and then once it's full, I just swap with the other one and I fill up the other one. And once it is again full, I swap other way around and just format it. So which means always I will have a backup in my card, and I will always have some images for maybe a few weeks ago, because even if an agent or client comes at a later stage back to me and says, look, do you have any extra angles? Do you have any extra images? I always can come back in the SD card and do it. And I don't have to go and sort out what I don't need. So basically, I just go open up the images that I was taking from the day, and I take out only what I need. What I don't need, I always keep it there, and I always have extra exposures. I always have extra images, but I'm not concerned that I'm taking too many images, because I have nothing to do with them. I just have to press format and everything is gone. But I don't do formatting before I have swapped them in turns. And then once I'm filling up this one, now if I need to replace it, then I will always format the new card that I'm putting in. But the old one, you will always have that information here. So therefore, I have two cards for myself. It works fine and it saves me time. Now, the next thing is camera batteries. Now I use Canon, so therefore I have an illustration of Canon batteries. Now I have tried to save some money on Canon batteries, and I have been purchasing also these Chinese batteries, which is here on right hand side. But what is the problem with these batteries? Literally, they show that they are full, but then you start shooting, and literally in 5 minutes it runs empty, or 10 minutes. So it's not reliable, and they don't keep the charge. They don't keep the charge. So Canon battery, if you fill it up, it's fine. You can rely that if you go to some place, you're gonna have the property, and you're gonna be able to finish the job. With these ones, I have had the situation where I take a full battery, fully charged, put it in, I do some work, and it just runs out, because eventually it was showing it's 100%, and then all of a sudden it's like 5%. Yeah. So I wouldn't advise to save on these batteries. I would always advise to buy original batteries, even though the price is dramatically different. Yeah, like these cheap ones you can buy for very low price, and or even like they're throwing them at you because nobody needs them. But it is worth having two batteries. So why two batteries? Because first of all, sometimes I forget to charge the battery, and sometimes I am not sure how many jobs are going to be, and more jobs coming in, more jobs coming in, more jobs coming in, and then basically I just find out, oh look, I was prepared to do one job, but I actually end up doing maybe 4 or 5 jobs. Yeah, and therefore I always have this spare battery that I can just swap around, do it, and that's it. So I keep everything in sets of two. So I keep the SD cards in sets of twos. I keep the batteries in sets of twos, which is for the camera batteries, and the same I do it for my flash. So now for flash also I have two sets. So for images here, for sorry, 4 batteries here, 4 batteries here. That makes it two sets. If you have any flash that you can charge it directly, then you may need different batteries. This is what I use. But my mistake, what I have learned from my experiences, at the beginning I didn't pay attention to these amperes here. So it's 2500, but if you see here 1300, so they look the same, but actually this shiny green color is different, and that's the only thing. These small numbers I didn't notice at the beginning, but what happens, literally these flash batteries has less power, like half of the power that these ones has. So it is very important to just keep an eye and keep basically looking out for these numbers and seeing how much energy you can store in a single battery. Like my colleague, I would say he's really funny because what he does, he always ends up running out of batteries, and then he goes to petrol station buying the batteries and throwing them out, and always could keep on spending money. I prefer to buy rechargeable batteries and just keep on charging them and just use it for a long period of time. That works better for me. I even don't know why he does it, but I think it's just laziness. So it's no point to be lazy. So it will save planet, it will save you money, and it will save time. How much time you spend traveling to petrol stations or stores of just buying those batteries and then keeping them in your backpack. So it's just a waste of time. And now this is a flash that I use. I don't use the diffuser. I don't use this stand as well. I mount directly straight on my camera. This is basically just to show what it is. If you see here on the screen, let me demonstrate it here. So is my camera, and this is my flash. So I just have it screwed on, and I shoot it as this, just straight up directly in the ceiling, bounce against the ceiling and bounce it down. So that is my setup. And the last thing in my setup is the lens itself. So this lens I use, I found it that it works very well. There's two versions. If you see this small number here, two, so 2 lines. So the first version actually it really makes those kind of reflections from the sun to kind of distort a little bit the image. And I have found out that this second version actually has improved this. And I think because of the coating or because of how they work on the glass, it has resolved. I do achieve the maximum result with this. This lens is very expensive. Um, I'm not saying that you have to do this and you have to necessarily buy this lens. It looks like a little bit like a fisheye, but it is wide angle, and it produces straight on wide shots without any distortions. Why I'm saying this? There are many people who use Samyun, Tamron, and any other, and it is fine. And I know there are some which are like 12 millimeters, even smaller. That means even wider up, and that's great as well. But it's just my investment because I have been doing this for a long time. And if I do it, and this is basically how I earn money, so I don't mind to invest. As a first-time buyer, I don't necessarily think that it is worth spending straight away so much money. Rather, just start getting some jobs and getting some just other brand, and that would be it for me. That is basically my bag. That is what I carry with me at all times. So I will stop this presentation, stop sharing the screen, and then you can and ask any questions if you have, and maybe share some of your ideas. One second. All right.
Yeah, I agree with what you said about the battery, the lens, but I would like to share something from my experience regarding, especially for the battery.
Yeah.
You say that the Chinese are not reliable. Yes, they are not reliable, but there are some brands that I used for like probably 5 or 6 years, and
Mhm.
I still have the batteries, and I see no difference between the original and those ones. Probably
All right.
they're a little bit more expensive than the cheapest one, but if you
Yeah.
look on eBay or no on Amazon, if you find the brand RAV Power, RAV Power, they're really, really,
Rough.
really good in terms of like batteries, the chargers, everything. Like really, really nice quality. So again, I use it for Fuji, and for my Nikon camera. They're really, really good. Again, there is absolutely I can't see any difference between the original Nikon and that the raw power.
Yeah, and you probably can save money. How much roughly is one battery like this?
10 pounds maybe 10 15 pounds maximum
Yeah,
15
very
pounds.
good, very good, very good. Yeah,
And
depend on
regarding
what
the
amount.
Mhm. Regarding the normal AA batteries for flash, for example, you know the brand Enelope Pro from Panasonic, the rechargeable ones.
Hmm.
Well, basically they
Yeah,
are the best in battery, so nothing is better than Enelope on rechargeable, but they are a little bit expensive. Now,
you're
if you
right.
go on IKEA, they have their own brand. I think they call it not remember the name.
I know that.
And you know what?
Yeah,
Some guys did some tests, and it turns out that those batteries from IKEA they're actually Enelope. They just rebranding, you know. So for the same price, you can buy like really good rechargeable batteries at like maybe less than half of a price, and they are the same as Enelope from Panasonic. So if you go to IKEA, just buy a couple of them and try them.
that's a very good tip that you're sharing. Thank you, because I need to go to IKEA actually for some house repairs, and then now we're gonna buy those batteries because I needed to
Yeah.
get some.
Yeah, so again, I have Enelope from Panasonic, the black one and the white ones, and I have the ones from IKEA. And again, I don't see like a really big difference between them. For flash, I'm using from the IKEA ones or from the Panasonic. But again, the IKEA ones, like the relation between quality and price, it's unbeatable. So yeah.
Mm, very good, definitely.
Mm,
And in regards tripod, what tripod do you use?
well, I have a couple of them. So I have like a really small one from Amazon. Actually, it's a brand Amazon branding. It's a fiber carbon. It's a really kind of, I would say, reliable, but it's very
Mhm.
light and small. And again,
Yeah.
I think it covers like 1 meter and 35 or 150. And then I have the Manfrotto one, which is carbon fiber as well, a little bit more heavy, but again depends. For example, in interior photography, when you have like carpets, like very soft carpets, if the
Yeah,
tripod is
yeah,
really
yeah.
it's
It's
when
more
it's not heavy, yeah, it's like wobbling. And if you have like a critical shutter speed of half of a second or a quarter of a second, it's almost impossible to have like a sharp image. You have to use
so
like
one
the timer.
yeah, yeah. This is what I wanted to say. One thing what I do, because like I showed my tripod, it is not very heavy. Yeah, it's very small, and if I fold it, it basically folds to like pieces. Yeah, that you
Mm,
can just put it back. But what I wanted to say. So also when I do these images on a carpet, yeah. So this is my carpet. So I
mm,
just press it a little bit down. So when I have it, I always keep it with one hand in this area. So I just have on this area, I just press
Mm-hmm.
down, and then when I do the settings, I always do them on timer. I always do them. If I do bracketing, exposure bracketing, I always use timer. Always. If I do flash, then I don't need to do timer because I need to adjust each exposure, each F number, each, whatever setting I need to do. But then also I'm not worried about anything moving because usually shutter speed is very high because I get the light from the flash. And
Mm-hmm.
here, what I use, if you can see here, is quick release. Quick release. This where it is from here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and this
200 PL. Yeah, yeah. Is
yeah
this one is the best. I use
this
only this kind of system in all of my tripods.
so,
Really
so
good.
this is from Manfrotto. So I put it and it's
Yeah.
closed.
Mm.
Okay, the head is from Manfrotto because it is the fastest that I know. But the tripod they use this, and the brand is US Camel, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because simply I have those two segments here. Because I find it is very useful that I don't have to adjust those three legs every time, all the time. Yeah, because with the
Yeah.
time you feel like you're just screwing too much than actually doing the job. And if you have the next job to run to, then this is how I find. So I try to keep it light. Yes, areas is where it's moving, so I just keep my hand on the tripod. I do those settings and it's fine. And also, there's another thing to look after is sometimes the floor, especially here, where it's like wooden floors. If you move, let's say
Yeah.
you put the timer on, you press the button, then you step back and it moves a little bit. Then you go closer, then you press the button, it moves. So I try to kind of be in the same position. I press the timer and I stay in the same position. I don't move back and forth. Of course, if
Mm-hmm.
you have like a cable and remote control and all these things, yes, but it's just too complicated, too
Yeah,
much
it's
time,
too much.
cables and the rest of the things. It's not worth doing it. I just use a timer, usually set it on the smallest timer that I have. If I do external imaging, if I have to lift up the tripod, then I need to use like 10-second timer.
Mm.
Yeah.
One question: have you used before the external flash, like off camera flash for interior photography?
I have, yes. I used to do with two flashes. So one on flash, one separately, especially if I was doing like a shot with open doors where I have two rooms. I skipped this. I'm not doing it anymore. It was too time consuming, too difficult, different lights, different flashes, everything. And also, what happened, I found out that by just having bracketing with flash can resolve this issue. Yeah. If you want to see how I edit with Flash and how I take images with Flash, maybe we can do that another day. So I thought that we can keep a little bit shorter the meetings, maybe for like a 1 hour instead of two, because I know everybody's busy. But kind of at least some update for everybody. And what it is basically what I do with this one flash when I shoot. So if it is a long stretch of room, and if I can fill up this area, then I have to bracket with flash, even though I make this area is fine in the first image, then I make one even brighter where I have enough light in this area, but this is maybe burn out. And then I just blend them together. And it is
Mm-hmm.
simpler just with a brush tool. So I do that instead of multiple flashes and
Mm-hmm.
multiple things. But then I always bounce it up because if I bounce up on a ceiling and then it comes down from ceiling down, it fills up the whole room. If you have external flashes, one of the photographers sent me some sample images just this week, and there's these light bulbs hanging, and no light bulbs, but you have this lights in middle of room. And because he was pointing the flash kind of directly, there was always shadow coming from that light in the middle of a room, and then he needed to take another shot so the shadow would be different direction, then he would blend. But if I shoot it up, then it doesn't cast those shadows because it just basically fills up the whole room. That's what I do, and then I bracket also with flash. So I have a brighter image, a medium image, and darker image also with flash. If
Mm-hmm.
it is like a larger one, if it is like a square box room or square size room, then I can fill it up with one single flash, and it is very easy. Most of the residential properties, um, terraced houses you can do like perfect with like almost one or two shots. Yeah, only exceptions is with flashes when you have large open spaces like open plan kitchen and dining, then you'll not be able to fill up with flash both of them, and you will also not be able to get that flash to the other side. Then I just do bracketing of exposure. So I just do exposure bracketing. So I just set up my medium exposure, then I have one brighter exposure, one darker exposure. So brighter exposure is for that far away area which is dark, and the darker exposure is for whatever is highlights, maybe the windows or whatever. And the medium exposure is for in general for the room. So that's what I do. So if I do the whole property with flash, the open plan kitchen dining I will do with bracketing, with exposure bracketing. Yeah, that's how I found it, and I have some samples also to share. Did you, Andre? Did you got the photography manual? Did I send it or not?
Yeah. I read it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there you can see areas where I
Hmm.
do that. You can see
Hmm.
where I don't use flash. So in general, I try to use flash because it's much sharper images. But there are those areas which would take too much time and it's not necessary. We can just do it with bracketing.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions in regards to equipment? Milo, maybe you have. You just need to unmute because there is the microphone is muted. Yep. If you just move the mouse down, then you will see the screen will pop up with the microphone there. Yep.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, for now, I think we can keep going.
Okay. Yeah. And I think, like you mentioned about the equipment and everything, I know that many people who start with like at the beginning, especially with like a crop sensor,
Mhm.
it's fine, you can do that as well because it will going to be cheaper. But then you have to look at lenses, maybe 10 millimeter or 8 millimeter lenses, because of that factor that you have, that
Yeah.
it will basically, because you will have to take that number. If you have a 10 millimeter lens on crop sensor and you times 1.6, yeah, it will be 16 millimeters equal on a full frame.
Mhm.
So 10 millimeters in crop sensor is the same as 16 millimeters in full frame. And I use 14 on full frame. Yeah. So, but 14, 16, like Andrea was saying, 16 is also good and you can get great images. So it just basically depends of your skills and the angles that you choose. Yeah.
Okay.
And Andrea, I wanted to ask, do you have everything in one bag or you have two bags that you carry with you?
One. Even if I'm going to shoot like everything, one bag. I have
Yeah.
in one relatively small, if you know the lower Pro 400, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's something like this and like this, and I have there
Mm.
two cameras, any lens from 14 to 200, and plus the drone and the batteries and everything. So everything is in one bag.
Everything.
Yeah.
But
Of
how
course,
is
you,
it
you
that
can't put even like nothing after I put all of the stuff, but I'm trying to. And
you,
with that bag, I travel like to. It's accepted on any airline, so that was the idea. So I can have everything in one single bag.
but what's with the drones? Like, do you get lots of inquiries about the drones?
Sorry?
What's with the drones? Do you have lots of inquiries about the drones?
No, the drone. I basically I'm using it for me, just filming and taking photos. And
Yeah.
but not yet because I think it's difficult, especially in London. How you need like a lot of
Yeah. That's
permissions
the
and stuff
problem.
like that.
So that's true. For me, the same. I tried because some clients were asking. I realized it's not working. So I bought 8 meter pole. So basically, you just lift it up, open up with the next segment, lift it up. So it's 8 meters long pole. And with that, I can literally go in any place. We have even done some job next to
Mm.
Heathrow Airport because it doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with the airplane. It's basically you just have to keep it steady so it doesn't fell on anybody's head. But but that's the only thing you have to worry. No police, nobody can tell you anything about it.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
better to avoid drones in like in the city in London because it once happened to me, not in London but outside. I was filming the crop circles somewhere in the countryside, and I just lifted the drone, and suddenly, without any, I don't know, any control, the drone just flew away like at full speed, like.
yeah, yeah.
I was in shock, you know. Imagine this happening in the city. You could have a lot of problems.
I had the same situation. I got this GoPro drone, and I
Mm,
needed to do a commercial job. And the commercial job was like a retail park where you have all the shops around, and in the middle you have parking. And it's strong wind, and the drone is just going somewhere. And I'm so scared that I'm not gonna get in trouble with police,
mm,
with everybody. I just decided, look, it's no point. I just need to get rid of the drone. Nobody's really so much into it, the drones anyway. It just
mhm,
got the power, and that's it. But
mhm.
it's no point.
Yeah, and
Small.
in the city, the problem with the drones is the signal because there are a lot of any kind of signal from mobiles, from everything, and you can easily
Yeah.
lose the control of the drone, and the drone could go crazy, and it's like a weapon, you know. It's like four blades. It gives you
Yeah.
in the face, and it's over.
Yeah. You don't want to hurt anybody and then
Mm,
get away with the police after. Yeah.
yeah.
But let's move on, closing up to an end. So let me just give a brief insight of what's happening
Mm,
in the market at the moment. So I was speaking to one of the agents, and so he was telling about the story. So what they did. So before the lockdown, everybody had their own plans, what to do and how to do. Now everybody was going on with their lives as normal. Now all of a sudden everything stopped. Now in this moment there is more a lot of people, let's say for example in London, in restaurant and hospitality, a lot of Spanish, Italian, and any other nations, so from Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and they just basically go back to their countries because there's no point for you to stay here in the lockdown period. Yeah, and then they just go back home, they just go back to their families, and what means they left the rooms. That means there was so much rooms that is actually empty at the moment. So the agent that I was speaking, he is in room let business. So the agency is basically just renting out rooms. And what happened there, he said that at the moment, because the lockdown end, because during the lockdown you were not able to do any viewing, so if somebody left the room you just have to stay with that little empty room. Now the lockdown has finished in for housing market. Now you can advertise and do viewings, and now everybody wants to get the rooms out there and just advertise and just get somebody in because they're losing money. They lost 3 months, and let's say if one room is £500 and you have maybe, I don't know, two rooms empty, that's £1,000 a month. 3 months, £3,000 is lost already. So they don't mind. They just want to get anybody in. And now, if they were before next to Hackney, so this agent was telling that they were renting rooms with ensuite, which means like a shower and like a sink in the room. They were renting for like £750 a room. Now the same room goes maybe like £500. Now you see, like it's 30% difference. That's dramatic. You're never gonna get this kind of a discount on rooms. That's crazy. And now what he realized at the moment, whilst everybody were gonna now start to come back, whilst all the restaurants were open and everything else, it was just gonna take slow time, and it was gonna take time. And then he decided that he was just gonna get rid of his shares and go more in service providers. So he decided that he was gonna provide services like us, like virtual tours and like inspections and other things to the same real estate industry, no longer renting out. And for us, it's actually good because now everybody at this time they want to get these properties just rented, and they need those images, and that is where we at. But in long term, I see that the room let industry will struggle a little bit. The lettings industry will be all right, and sales industries will be all right because those are more stable. And people didn't leave their houses just to go somewhere else for a period of time. And even if they left, they have a lot of stuff there, and they were going to come back and they will try to keep on, with where they left with the business or whatever. And that means that at the moment there is some changes, but the question now is whether this is like a rush, and then it will going to go down and then slowly build up again, or it will going to be like they're rushing, and now it will going to pick up and continue the moving straight up. So I'm not sure where it will going to go. I still, from our own experience, I can see that last week was very busy, and also this week is moderately busy. I do believe the last week was busier than this week, and we'll see what's happening in the weeks to come. But since the lockdown, we've been working maybe 1.5 months, and yeah, we have came across the days. Everybody, I need now, urgently now, immediately. Yeah, and this is what we find out, and therefore also I have a lot of work to catch up because everything is now. We don't have much time to plan and organize everything. So yeah, this was the update that I know from speaking to people. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy. We still have 10 minutes. We can discuss, and then I will gonna let you go to carry on with your lives.
Yeah, I would just want to ask quickly about the floor planning.
Yeah,
Where to start, or which is the best way to do them, or
the best way to do floor plans. This I always have in my bag. It is basically placed there. Uh, this is a sample of a floor plan.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the only thing is you need is basically a graph paper. You need a pen, like pencil, eraser, and laser measurement tool. Laser measurement tools you can get from. Let me just open up. Let me just put this thing back. Okay, this I have in my bag. I have my laser measurement tool, and I have my pencil, and this is basically what is needed. So you definitely need laser measurement tool, 100%. Like there's no other way. What brand you use, it really doesn't matter. There is starting from £20 up to going to a few £100, but this is maybe £60. It's a medium. It's a Bosch. And there are many applications that people are using, and some people are actually doing straight into the application. I find it for myself not worth doing it. It takes too much time, and I rather just measure and draw a line, then measure, and then need to put something on a phone, and then I need to put the windows. I just draw, and it's done, and then I just take a picture and I send it to our office, and that's the way how to speed up, because we have office that deal with all the editing inquiries. We have office in Latvia, so that's the benefit as well there, that people there are good and they are willing to work, and they produce good quality. But again, here in London, I don't have to spend so much time on actually dealing with all these things. I just basically collect the information and collect the measurements. Also, the other thing is, if we compare to those applications that people are using, in general, it's fine. But if you're going to be starting to do a lot of work, you're going to get into some difficulties, especially because what we measure is called gross internal floor area, and measuring gross internal floor area, you have to exclude areas that are below 1.5 meters. So let's say here, anything that is below, I have to exclude. So in my plan, I can then measure from here. This is below 1.5. I just measure how far to the wall. Fine, I just measure this area out. More details, maybe we can do another course about the floor plans. But on those applications, you are a little bit limited. There is no opportunity to do that. And also, I'm not sure whether you can include the external areas like gardens and patios, and that we include. It's a good selling point. It doesn't take a lot of time, but our clients are happy, and that's the main result. That's what I want to achieve. But for me, the most important thing is that I do control the quality, I do control the accuracy, and it doesn't take a lot of time. Because otherwise, going into details, can you imagine you have phone, yeah? and then you just have to put a small line like this, and then it is difficult. And like in a previous meeting, we were discussing that one of the guests in this meeting, he was saying that he actually don't do the measurements with a laser, has it on his app, and then once he's traveling to the next job in his iPad, he's actually doing some amendments, maybe room labels and windows and doors and the rest of the markings. When I leave a property, I'm done. I don't need to sit on a bus and do
Yeah,
anything.
because you have an office. You have an office when you send all these things.
Yeah,
Then,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. But look, there's always opportunity to outsource. You know that
Mhm,
this office cost me something. If you need, we can draw up your floor plans as well. That's not a problem.
mhm,
The question is, you want to do it's fine, or you want somebody else to do it, which is fine. But this is just
mhm,
a question: how much time you have, how much you're earning for your time, and how much you're paying somebody for your time. So let's say if you end up doing that floor plan for 1 hour, maybe it's better to pay somebody for 1 hour and then
exactly.
making another property, because in 1 hour time you're going to get more money by taking property photography than sitting at home and doing floor plans. At the beginning, look, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying at the beginning I was doing everything. I was taking pictures, taking floor plans, I was taking bookings, and I was doing all one man band. But I was going to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning and in the job at 9 o'clock in the morning. And then again, so up till 5, 6, I shoot. Then I come back home, I do editing till 9, photos and floor plans. Then I again shoot in the morning, then I do editing till night. And literally, I was like desperate, and I called to one of my friends that we were working in previous places together, and I said, "Look, Eddie, I don't know what you're doing. Just come here. Let's work it together. I cannot do this anymore. And literally, I cannot do it anymore." And I realized, look, we have to work out something, and this is how we created this, yeah. And look, there are many people who provide services of editing pictures or whatever. It's just cooperating, and not necessarily you have to do everything yourself. But when you start doing it, like I started, I understand there's no point to pay somebody if you can do it yourself. If you have one job a day, you edit yourself and you draw the floor plan yourself. There's many applications, softwares that you can use. Metropix, SketchUp. Then I use this how it's called, Smart Draw. Yeah. Then more technical, of course, would be AutoCAD if people doing it. People do it in Illustrator as well. It's all the options that can be used, and there is multiple softwares and applications. It's just I'm not aware of all of them. So, but what I do, I can share it. I sketch it like I showed you here. And once I sketch it, then that's where I have all the information. And the paper that I use, I will show you now. It is a graph paper, and it is 21020. If you can see that, the name.
mhm,
So it's 2 millimeters by 10 millimeters by 20 millimeters. And I actually have a floor plan manual where I actually draw all the floor plans myself. I have on a video how I mark everything, the same way how I had detailed instructions about photography. I have the same with floor plans. So if I will have a chance, Andrea, I will gonna hope to get to you this week, and then we can arrange maybe a video call
mhm,
or something, and then I can send you all the floor plan manuals. But one
mhm,
thing for sure, you need to get laser measurement on the graph paper, 21020. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah,
and
two, 10, 20.
yeah. And it's not a big investment. The laser measurement £20, paper maybe £3. Of course, delivery maybe will be another £3. Yeah. So I think
Okay.
I think it's a good meeting. No, I think 1 hour is good time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
Compressed
information, just
everything.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of information compressed kind of in a short time period. But I think it's good. I don't think it's point to spend too much time. People get tired, and I have things as well to do. Like yesterday, finished at 10 o'clock. So yeah. Yeah, but I have meetings to do with team and discuss and plan and organize, not only to do the job. And then we're going to do some work on Saturday as well. Now we're going to be doing some commercial work Saturday, Sunday as well. So yeah, very busy. Yeah, so I think
Okay.
thank you for joining. Let's keep in touch. Let's do the next meeting. Yeah, we can do it 7. We can do it on the 14th of July. 14th of July. You can record it again 7 p.m. UK time. And what we're going to discuss, we can then discuss, like you Andre mentioned, about the 3D tours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can share what information you have. I can share what I have. I have a lot of samples as well, and then we can see what works for you better, and maybe you can. I have some questions that I want to find the answers as well, and I try to find the most efficient way. My concern also is about the hosting, and I started to look in some 3D, so basically in virtual tour stitching softwares, and also like you mentioned, to maybe have like a hosting that where you can host yourself. Yeah, because otherwise
Yeah,
hosting costs.
there is a possibility on
Mhm.
if you have, for example, a website on WordPress, you can install plugin. I didn't went
Mhm.
this way because to have that the plugin option, you have to pay like $300 a year
Yeah,
to WordPress. So that's why I left it. And then, for example, you edit and you mount your panels in a panel to VR, the soft, and then
yeah.
they have a plugin for WordPress, and that way you can host on for free virtually on your
Yeah, so you
WordPress
host
site.
for free, but you pay for the plugin, yeah?
Yeah, but you no, you pay for the WordPress to accept plugins in general.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah,
So you pay for workers. Okay, I understand. Yeah,
yeah.
still some cost involved, but
Or like in my case, what I will try this week, I will try to upload. I have a lot of panoramas on Google, like from time ago, but
yeah.
they are not like for real estate. They are like for street, for some from some
You need
places
some
like
samples. I
restaurant.
can send you photos. I have 360 images from one property that I done with Insta 360 camera. I can send you some if you need
Hmm.
to plan.
Hmm.
Uh, I need to just remember this. If I will remember, I will send it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Let me actually do after this meeting. Let me do this after this meeting. I will send you. I do that after this meeting. I'll send you a link with those samples. All right, so you can play around with them. Yeah.
Okay, okay, cool.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, thank you everybody for joining. And yeah, so see you on the 14th then, and we'll discuss the virtual tours hosting and what to do because virtual tours is the future. At the moment, we have done more virtual tours now than before because simply government and everybody is encouraging to do virtual tours. So that is part as well. And if you want to be in real estate industry, you have to package those products, photography, 360 images, and these all things is basically what keeps you afloat. If one thing is not operating, something else is. And that is what I have found out that we also do. Therefore, we have multiple products. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Peter, for your time, and well, see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you. Yeah.
See you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.